Hey y'all, and welcome back to the full set review of the Universes Beyond Yu-Gi-Oh! Draft set. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the white-black cards. Now, I'm going to go over the grading system and everything here in a sec, but if you already know all that stuff and don't need to hear it again, feel free to skip to the time code on screen. We're going to go over every card in the set one by one, and we're going to talk about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that inspired each one of those, how we translated them into Magic the Gathering cards, and then we're going to discuss how good those cards are, and when should you pick them in a cube draft. At this point, we have all had a lot of experience with this cube, enough to tell you how and when you should play each of these cards. We're going to use a grading system that goes from A to F. This grading system is only meant to tell you how highly you should pick the cards while drafting. And the grades go as follows. A is a bomb that you should often first pick. It can either win the game on its own easily, or is a part of a powerful game plan that is worth getting into as fast as you can. B is a solid card that draws you into an archetype, or a deck type, or a card that can efficiently interact with your opponent. You should pick Bs very highly. Cs are the bread and butter of your deck. Once you have an idea of where you're going, finding the right C-level cards is an incredibly important part of creating a consistent deck that won't just lose to itself. Don't pick these cards super highly, but you do want to make sure you have the correct C-level cards for your deck. D, these are either cards that just don't perform as highly as you want them to, or cards that fit only in very specific deck types. Often these are kind of like C-level cards, but they only go into like one deck, or they're cards with just low overall impact. There is certainly a right time to pick these cards, but it isn't early and it isn't often. F is a grade that we only give to cards that you should pretty much never pick under any circumstances, and if we gave a card an F grade, it probably means we need to buff that card. So, if you're curious about this set and want to learn more, I have left a ton of resources in the description, including a visual spoiler website that's easy to navigate, a Google Drive with all the images so you can print the set yourself, and a link to our Discord server so you can join us when we draft the set. With all that in mind, I hope you all enjoy this series of deep dives into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe Beyond draft experience. Think of it like a podcast series, with each episode covering a different part of the set. We're going to go over all the two-color pairs first, then each monocolor group, and finally colorless cards. But first, a word from our sponsor, MythAtom.com. MythAtom is an online store focused on products designed around the media we love. From game accessories to jewelry and more, MythAtom uses creativity and understanding to recreate many of the most iconic elements of our favorite nerdy stuff. They sent me some really cool items that you should be able to see on screen right now. I got a really cool MTG Commander deck box with this amazing stained glass look on the green deck box. It's got a nice case and pocket for your commander to show off as well. Yes, my commander's Mathis the Friend Seeker. No, I will not answer any questions about the deck. MythAtom sells other cool deck boxes too, and sleeves and binders and playmats and tokens, I mean, you name it. All your classic gaming items and accessories. But what's even cooler than that is the other item they sent me. This metal Colossus hammer keychain. This thing is gorgeous and looks just like the one from the card art. I'm going to put that on screen right here. It's very sturdy and weighty, and it's just a really well-made piece. They have a ton of others like this too, whether they're keychains, rings, or necklaces. MythAtom has some of the coolest metalwork nerd relics I've ever seen in a shop like this. They also sent me some glamour shots of the Colossus hammer that we can all marvel at right now. Ooh. Ah. So anyway, if you want to get something neat from this store, they gave me a discount code that you can use at checkout. It's not good. All one word, at checkout, to get an extra 10% off your purchase. That's It's Not Good at checkout. Thanks MythAtom for sponsoring this video. Now back to it. White-black is mainly zombies. That's the main thing that black-white is, so be aware. Most of these cards are going to be zombie cards. But one thing that's really cool that I've noticed as people... As people have been playing this set, something I've noticed about black-white is that the zombies, while you can build a zombie deck, there's actually a lot of zombies that don't need you to be playing a zombie deck for them to be good. And we're going to talk about them as we see them, and we're going to talk about where they fit, where they're good, that is not just the zombies deck. So be aware that there's a lot of great uses for the mechanics of a lot of these zombie cards that are not just the zombie deck. They just happen to also all have cool zombie things going on that work well in that strategy. The zombies
Hey
deck.
guys, graveyard. The graveyard is a good mechanic, by the way. Just in case
Graveyard's
you
a good
didn't know.
mechanic. Use
Just
your graveyards.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
absolutely, absolutely. So, just be aware of that as we go through these. I'll show you. We'll talk about it. Let's get into the first card, which is. Wait, is that the first card? Is Bone Crusher the first card? It is. Sorry, my bad. Okay.
okay.
Bone Crusher, which is 4-star Earth zombie effect monster with 1600 attack and 200 defense. When this card is why did they even give it defense at that point? When this card is
I mean,
special
because
summoned
it
from
looks cool.
your That's true, you're right. He's a little bone guy. He's fragile. When this card is special summoned from your graveyard by the effect of a zombie type monster, you can target one spell or trap card your opponent controls and destroy that target. During the end phase of the turn, this is special summoned to destroy it.
Okay, I just want to point this out. I don't think I've seen anyone ever play this card. Like zombies were historically a very, very good deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! This card was not played for several
Mm-hmm.
reasons. One, spell trap removal is, if you want spell trap removal, you find it in better ways than needing to
Mm-hmm.
revive a guy. And two, um, this guy is self-destructing is also not, you know,
Yeah.
great. But I will say, like, before we reveal the card, I just want to say um, the card that this got turned into for the Magic version is a house, and
Yeah.
it scared me. It scared me a few times. Like it actually made my bones rattle. So
Yeah, it's a jump scare, yeah. So let's look at
yeah,
this jump scare. Bone Crusher is 1 and 2 white black hybrids for a 4/1 creature zombie warrior. Notice the two creature types, zombie and warrior, are both relevant creature types in the set. This creature has first strike while attacking. Big 4/1 first strike attacker, terrifying. And when this creature enters from
yeah.
your graveyard or is cast from your graveyard, destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. We have broadened what it hits to any non-land permanent, and it doesn't need to be a zombie that reanimates it. Any way that you reanimate this is good to go. This card is really good, and it's great with the next card we're going to look at too. So,
Yeah. That the like destroy any non-land permanent when this revives is just it's crazy. Like the difference between just blowing up a spell trap in Yu-Gi-Oh and destroying like anything. Like if the original Bone Crusher could kill a creature, right? If it could kill a monster, I could see some zombie decks in the day, like maybe potentially playing this. But the big reason it wasn't played was because the effect was so underwhelming. This, on the other hand, if you just revive this little guy, you can blow up anything, and you can repeatedly do this as long as you find ways to bring it back, which is just, yeah, this is a house. And I want to say, like, this blocks amazingly. This hits in like a truck and is very hard to kill. Um, this is one hell of a common, and I would say if you um, like I can see you playing this even if you don't have a way to reanimate it, because this just applies so much pressure by itself, you know? I could see that, you would pick this somewhat early. I would say a B for me, honestly. Like this thing is great.
okay, I
Um,
don't know if I would go that high. I don't think you pick this if you can't do something with it because 4/1 for 3 that only has first strike while attacking, I don't think is quite good enough in a lot of situations. It does block okay, right? 4 power kills a lot of things, but and it attacks very good. Like it's a very great attacker, but I don't know if that's good enough. Because think about it this way:
mhm.
if I sacrifice this for emerge, right? If I don't have a way to
Yeah.
bring it back, that's not a very good card. Like I did just pay 3 mana and then lose it, but
Yeah, that's
it's
true. That's
it's
true.
insane if you have good ways to get it back, and zombies are good at that. Zombies are very good at bringing back small or medium creatures from their graveyard. In fact, the whole zombie thing is sacrificing their dudes and bringing them back from the graveyard, a bunch of small wide board of zombie dudes. That's like their whole thing. And so
Yeah.
I would say I don't think I pick this early. I think when I know that I can bring it back, say I've got, Monster Reborn or some other reanimation card. Like I got some reanimation cards, and my goal with those cards is to bring back something really scary. Having this in my deck means I've got another target that's very good to bring back that I have no issues bringing it back, right? And there are also a couple of
Hmm.
cards that combo really well with this card. There are a couple of them we'll see. So the ceiling of power on this card is massive. It is so huge. But I would say the floor is very low. I would say if you don't have a way to reanimate this, I don't pick this card ever. I think you gotta be more picky with your selection in this format. And
That's
I
true. I
think
guess, like, I think, yeah, maybe I would rescind that I would play it if I didn't have a way to reanimate it, but it's like close to me because just the pressure. I like if I playing like white aggro or something, and I have a white board state, and then I summon a guy that can just hit in for 4 every turn with first strike. That is really strong. So yeah, but
yes.
but I agree with you that it's just the potential goes up massively once you have any sort of reanimation.
Well, and I think that it's important to put those two things together, and that's where the power comes from. Because if this was like a 1/1 that didn't have the first strike on attacking, so it was a 3 mana 1/1 that only got like
Yeah.
destroy something when you reanimate it, that would be a lot worse of a card. Like that would not be as scary by any means. Like yes, I can reanimate it, but then that's all I got was like a destroy something. Whereas in this
Hmm.
one, not only do I get to destroy something when I reanimate it, but it is a scary threat that my opponent wants to get rid of, right? So if I, let's say, cast this on turn 3, like normal cast, I don't destroy anything, right? My
Yeah.
opponent still wants to get rid of it because it's a 4/1 attacking first striker, and as long as my deck has a way to make use of it after it dies, that is when this card is crazy because on 3, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on you, forcing you to answer it, and then I get paid off later on when you answer it. That's when this card goes
True.
crazy. So
True.
I would still say I want to put it at a C because
Mhm.
you really do got to make use of it the proper ways. But you're not upset to play it in your deck. You're like when you have anything, really anything that can bring this back, even if it's just one card in your deck that can do it. The turn when you get to do it is such a big deal at such swinging the game back in your favor that I think that that's when you're like, I love this card. So as long as you have anything, literally anything, and we're gonna see a couple of really good ways, I think this is a great card for your deck. But I would put it at C just because I don't think you play this if you can't bring it back.
I guess I'll put it to like C plus to B minus
Mm-hmm.
ish, because yeah, you are right.
It's reasonable to me. Alrighty, next card. Corroding Shark. This is the card it combos with, by the way. It's really good with this card. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, it is a 3-star dark zombie normal monster with 1100 attack and 700 defense.
Yeah, and this is one of those cards, I really love that at some point we decided to just add a bunch of random old vanilla creatures and monsters. Because that's like one of the things I love the most about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is there are these really weird, random old vanilla normal monsters that no one ever played, but we gave them some cool effects, and this is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see what those cool effects are in Magic. Corroding Shark is 1 and 2 white black hybrids for a 3/1 creature zombie shark that says when this creature enters, each player sacrifices a creature. If you sacrifice another zombie this way, return that creature to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. So you can see how good this is with Bone Crusher. The only awkward thing is that this is 3 mana and so is Bone Crusher. So if you play this on turn 4, it might be a little bit of an awkward play because you might waste 1 mana. But I think that's fine because the effect
Oh
is so
no,
good.
I wasted 1 mana and destroyed 2 of their things. What am I gonna do?
What am I
Ah.
gonna do? Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, you go Bone Crusher turn 3, turn 4 Corroding Shark, sacrifice your Bone Crusher. They sacrifice something else, bring back the Bone Crusher, blow up their other thing. You have 2 dudes, they have none. It's such a powerful play. I've had this happen to me, and in fact, I had it happen more than once in a game. As they were doing this stuff, they reanimated the Corroding Shark again. And they had, oh god, it was a brutal beating. I got annihilated. Fantastic
Yeah.
play pattern. And this card in general, this is an analog to a type of card that exists in Magic. It's the not Faceless Butcher, the Fleshbag Marauder, which is a 2 and a black for a 3/1 that when enters, each player sacrifices a creature. This has that, but it ticks it up to 11 for a zombies deck, right? So if you have any zombie to sacrifice, it's just so crazy, especially one that has like an enters effect. Obviously, Bone Crusher is the card to sacrifice with this. That's the one that's the craziest. But there are a lot of other zombies that have cool effects going on that you get to re-trigger if you get to play this card with it. I love this card. Its floor is in my opinion much higher than Bone Crusher, and its ceiling is also really high because if you pair it with cards like Bone Crusher, it goes crazy. So when I'm looking at this card, I would pick this higher than Bone Crusher. I want this before I have Bone Crusher, and it's okay if I don't get the Bone Crusher because this card's still really good on its own.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think this is definitely more versatile than Bone Crusher itself because this is just a removal spell. Granted, it is not the it is the your opponent gets to sacrifice a creature type of removal spell,
Yeah.
which is usually not costed very high. But the upside of this is definitely that this is a creature. Removal spells that are creatures are especially nice because creatures have a lot of upsides. For this, that it's a zombie, and especially like other things that care about creatures being in the graveyard. Um, this fills a lot of roles.
Mm-hmm.
You can play it as just a normal removal spell, and then you can unlock its potential if you find any kind of zombie thing. One thing I want to point out, um, the flavor text fits surprisingly well. It can deliver its lethal curse with a spell. Sign me up, you know?
Sign me up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, like you said, if you're playing it by itself as a removal spell that just like 3 mana, you sacrifice a creature, that's not very good on rate. That floor is fine, I would say. It depends. Like if your opponent just has one big creature, that's awesome. Woo, we did it. But most of the time they're gonna have something that they're fine with sacrificing, and you paid 3 mana. However, if you're doing this card's thing and you were able to either sacrifice a token or you actually sacrificed a zombie, you also then have this 3-drop in play that you can sacrifice to emerge that got you value. So always keep that in mind. This will not always generate value with emerge, but it has the capacity to do that if you sacrifice a zombie. So I think this has a lot going for it. I love this card. Huge fan. You do have to kind of make it work. I don't think you have to make it work as hard as Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher, you got to be specific. I think this one you can either have like any zombie or you can have like a token, so it's not as bad when you sacrifice something. But
Yeah,
so I'd say, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, just saying that because this is a creature, like if you find cheap and silly ways to reanimate this, you have a repeatable removal spell too.
Yeah, that's
So
really good. Yeah. So I'm gonna give this card a. Oh, I'm stuck between C plus. I think C plus. I want to give it a C plus. Because the lone removal spell angle is a very expensive and not super great removal spell on its own, but it's still a removal spell. And like I said before, you do want those. So I'm gonna give it a C plus.
for consistency's sake, since I gave Bone Crusher a B minus, I'm gonna give this a B minus too,
Okay.
because as you said, like this probably has to come before Bone Crusher, and I don't want to um, give the Bone Crusher the higher grade, even though Corroding Shark is the enabler for it, right?
And I just wanna impress upon you, you should put this with the Bone Crusher. Those two cards together are horrifying. It's so good. All right, let's go to the next card. So we've got Return Zombie. Return Zombie is a 4-star dark zombie effect monster with 1,000 attack and 1,600 defense. And it says during your standby phase, you can pay 500 life points to add this card from your graveyard to your hand. You must have no cards in your hand to activate and resolve this effect.
Okay, so for if you read this, you can probably guess that this card was never played. But I want to point out this is like in the era where they started making effect monsters, like figuring out what effects actually are on monsters. And some of these, they just have some really small upside, and you get some stupid, no sense making downside. Like you need no cards in your hand so you can get back this 1,000 attack point monster every turn. Wow, that is that is crazy. I cannot believe it. But yeah, so there are like in early Yu-Gi-Oh, there are a lot of these monsters that have like really weird marginal upsides and then really horrible downsides, and this is one of them. But they make really great fodder to be reimagined in decent archetypes in Magic. So yeah.
They do, and so in Magic Return Zombie is 2 white black hybrids For a 2/3 creature zombie that says at the beginning of your upkeep, if this card is in your graveyard, you may pay 1 life. If you do, return it to your hand. First thing I want to say is there is a card similar to this in Modern Horizons that is 1 blue black for a 3/1 that when it enters Surveil 2, and then it has the exact same text there at the bottom where if it's in your graveyard, you can pay a life, return it to your hand. So there's precedent for this existing in Magic. It's not crazy. It's not insane. Just want to be clear. I've had someone say that, how could you create a card like this? And I'm just like, I don't know. It's not as crazy as you think it is. You've got to recast it and stuff. I don't know.
But
Anyway.
to be fair though, it's Modern Horizons, Anyway.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true. Modern Horizons be doing things. It's a 2/3 for 2, but it's got to be black or white mana and double pips on that. So it's way easier if you're playing a black-white deck, but you can technically play this in any white deck or any black deck. Just realize that it's going to be harder to cast on turn 2 if you do that. The stats for the cost are reasonable, right? You got a 2/3 for 2. We like those. It blocks well. And the key thing here is the reason why I want to stop here and I want to talk about this card for a second. This card is so good in any emerge style deck. It is good in zombies where you can sacrifice it and bring it back over and over again, so it lets you use it for sacrifice fodder. But it's so good at just being value, right? This is a card you are happy to sacrifice to your emerge stuff in your white decks, in your black decks, in your black-white decks, all of those types of things. This is actually a pretty high pick, I think, because it is having the creatures that you're cool with sacrificing is very important. It also works with fusion as well, right? If you have a card that wants a white creature or a black creature or a zombie for your fusion costs, and those are different material costs that some of the fusions have. This can do that because you can always get it back. You're not losing value. This card's value is very high. You can discard it to cards that make you want to discard. Like, for example, Tormenting Voice in Magic is 1 in a red, discard a card, draw 2 cards. This is great for those effects too, because you discard it, and then in your upkeep, you just get it back. The card is, I think, a very good role player. It fills out such an incredible slot that a lot of decks are going to want. I underestimated it when I designed it. We played with it and I was like, oh, it's fine. And then I started seeing the way other people were using it and I was like, oh, this card actually does a lot that I wasn't thinking about. So I'm pretty high on this card.
Yeah, honestly, it's not even just the emerge stuff. It's also the body 2/3 for 2 mana is pretty decent. This can stall you. This can give you a lot of time. You are happy to jump block with it because, it just comes back the next turn. You can stop a lot. There's so much versatility, and the other thing is pretty. We did this pretty late into the card design, but we added a small mill theme for black, and for mono black. And this is so nice to mill. This is one of those cards that just hits the graveyard and you're like, oh yeah, free card again.
Value. Yes.
Exactly. This is one of the free card advantage thing, as we said with Neo before. As long as you have something that just gives you cards, it's really nice with Emerge. Right?
Yeah. I'm on this. I would give it a B+. I think you picked this very highly.
Ooh, B+.
Yeah.
I don't think it's when I think B+, it's those cards that just actually win you the game. I feel like this is a B for me.
Sure.
This is really good, but I'm not sure, you draw this and then you can't top deck it and win the game with it,
That's true.
That's what I think B+ is for me.
That's fair. I think I respect that. I think where I'm coming from was most decks, this is a cog in your machine that makes things tick. But that doesn't mean that it's going to win you the game. It really will not be able to do that. So that's a good point. All right, next card.
Oh, one small thing about it still is most emerge things, as we pointed out, have lower emerge costs than their mana costs. So this often discounts you by 3 mana, even though it's only a 2 mana creature.
True. So it's good point. Good point. Okay, Blackluster Ritual, which is a spell ritual card that says this card is used to ritual summon Blackluster Soldier. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field whose total levels equal 8 or more.
Yeah, right. I forgot that it's my turn to talk.
If you don't have much to say, it's okay. You can just be like, yeah.
No. We can of course, In the anime, this was like the big thing. Blackluster Soldier was the rival to Blue Eyes White Dragon in a way. It was Yugi's 3,000 2,500 point monster, to match the power of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. You had the Blackluster Soldier, and it actually like inspired a lot of the chaos symbolism that we see in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like now you see a lot of the stuff that surrounds Blackluster Soldier or the support cards. It's always light and darkness and that kind of theme. So it was obvious it had to be in Orzhov. Um, but this chaos theme is something that Blackluster Soldier is, yeah, pretty famous for. It's the Blue Eyes White Dragon for Yugi, I guess.
Very cool. So, in Magic, Blackluster Ritual is 1 white black for a sorcery ritual that has Ritual 6 for a white black hybrid, and then its ability is to search your library for a white or black creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. Then you may put a card named Blackluster Soldier from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. This is the first time we're seeing a ritual card, so I want to start by explaining how the ritual mechanic works in Magic. The number for ritual, so Ritual 6, is the mana value that you need to discard of creature cards or sacrifice of creature cards. So similar to the way that the ritual works in Yu-Gi-Oh, where you need monsters whose total levels equal 8 or more. In this, you need to sacrifice or discard creature cards whose mana value add up to 6 or more, and then you could pay it for 1. You also can still just play this card for 3 mana. You don't have to use the ritual part of it as well. Also, as many pointed out in the original video, our ritual does not work the way rituals work in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's on purpose, because this is better and more fun. In Yu-Gi-Oh! You had to have the monster in your hand when you did this, right? And then you would be able to you'd be able to summon it from your hand this way. Had to be in your deck, and then you get it from your hand. And I thought, really, if you're gonna ask me to do so much, like tribute 8 total levels, and in Magic it'd be 6 total mana value, I should just get to put it into play from anywhere, right? So that's kind of what we did with it. We turned all of the rituals into tutors that can get creatures of certain colors. So they can search up their excuse me. They can search up the creature that is named on them, and then if you have that creature in hand, you can just put it into play. It also means that if you already have Blackluster Soldier in your hand, then you can search up a different white or black creature and then still put in the Blackluster Soldier. It also means that you can use this as a tutor if you don't have Blackluster Soldier, although in the draft, I would not recommend playing this if you don't have Blackluster Soldier, unless you have a very specific creature that you're going to cheat out, and this card lets you get that specific creature. So, that's my thoughts.
I would disagree with the last point. I think there is a very fun application for the ritual spells, which is that you can use their ritual costs to discard things to, revive later, for example.
Oh, good
Um,
point.
yeah. So you can basically like pay 1 mana, discard a thing, search any creature in your deck, and then revive it later with something. And that's a bit niche, but if you want to do some graveyard shenanigans, these cards are actually pretty useful.
That's a good
For
point. Yeah,
that
no,
purpose too. Yeah.
actually, for real, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But the other thing, like Exodia, for example, Exodia would play
Oh, you're
would play a
so
ritual spell,
right.
because yeah,
You're
because you
so
can
right.
discard the pieces. And anyway, the thing with the rituals is to like as you mentioned, like early game rituals in Yu-Gi-Oh were horrible, probably the least used mechanic of all, like even worse than fusion,
Mhm.
and a lot of modern ritual support is basically just, play card, search ritual spell and ritual monster in your hand now, free.
Yeah, exactly.
And there have been some good ritual decks over the years, but almost all of them basically say, well, actually, you don't need to sacrifice stuff from your hand or field, or actually, you don't need to, use this ritual spell, or this one can summon anything. They basically like made rituals good by saying, okay, we're just gonna add a bunch of new rules for it, and so we did this in Magic too, and I feel like that's fair. You know?
I feel like rituals should have always just gotten them from your deck into play anyway. That just made more sense. They're
Yeah,
already
yeah.
asking you to pay
Yeah,
so much.
like play the card, and then summon the ritual monster from deck. That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like polymerization and stuff got it from your extra deck. If you have to play the ritual monsters in your main deck, you might as well get to grab them from your deck. But whatever. Anyway,
Yeah, true.
we'll talk a little
The
bit more
grade,
about
the grade.
this. Yes, the grade. So we'll talk a little bit more about this. I think when we get to look at Blackluster Soldier, which is coming up right next. But overall, as Aaron was saying, yeah, I actually underestimated how good this ritual cost would be of it being only 1 mana. This does mean if you have all things right, you have 6 mana value worth of creature to discard or sacrifice, and, well, I guess discard in this scenario, and you have Blackluster Soldier in your deck, you can just turn 1 play a Blackluster Soldier. It's very strong. And again, this format's broken. It's supposed to be very high power level, so keep that in mind when looking at that. Another thing I want to mention is, technically, you can play this in a white deck or a black deck if you're going to ritual cast it. And as Aaron said, Exodia is a deck that would probably just want this as a tutor. And so you can ritual cast it in a black Exodia deck that doesn't even have white in it if you wanted to. So something to keep in mind. I will hold off on my grade until we pair it with Blackluster Soldier, I think, is what I'll do. All right, so let's look at Blackluster Soldier. Blackluster Soldier is a 8-star, right? Level 8 Earth warrior ritual monster with 3,000 attack and 2,500 defense, matching our good friend Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yeah. The fun thing here is too, this is like a modern Blackluster Soldier version. Back in the day, every ritual monster used to have the text. You can ritual summon this card with this ritual spell by sacrificing the creatures.
It used to say everything on the ritual monster. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah, exactly. And then at some point, they decided, okay, people can just look up how to do this stuff, and it would say the same thing on the ritual spell too.
That's so funny.
But that resulted in, like, if you could, almost none of the old ritual monsters had any effects. But if you tried to give them any effects, the old ones read like essays, because you had like you had like the ritual text and then try to fit relinquished text on there, and that's like one of the first times that you had like entire books written on one single card. So yeah, fun little ritual fact.
I'm imagining how many like schoolyard kids were trying to do Blackluster Soldier or whatever, and were getting disappointed that they kept losing to their friends. And they're like, but why can't I summon my Blackluster Soldier? Why is it so hard?
Yeah. Fun fact. Should I just keep that? I'll keep that for relinquished. Yeah, I'll keep it for relinquished.
Okay, I'll wait for
There's
relinquished.
a fun fact with that.
Okay, let's look at the Magic card. So in Magic, Blackluster Soldier is 3 white black for a 5/4 creature human warrior soldier. It has warrior and soldier because warrior is an archetype in the set, but his name is Blackluster Soldier, and he's got the warrior type on his. It's confusing. There's no soldier monster type in Yu-Gi-Oh, but there is in Magic. It's a whole thing. So this was my compromise. It's now a warrior and a soldier, as silly as that looks. Anyway, his abilities are: when this creature enters, if it wasn't cast, each opponent sacrifices a creature, and then it says whenever another creature dies, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Note the blue border is just so that you can tell in your deck where your ritual monsters are. It has no mechanical bearing, like the blue border. It's just that this is the ritual monsters will have that.
Oh yeah, and so you might notice that the stats are not equal to Blue Eye stats, even though they in Yu-Gi-Oh are. But I think there's a very good reason for this. As we mentioned before, you can cheat these guys out on turn 1, and I feel like if you can cheat these guys out on turn 1, we needed to make sure that most of these rituals have a reasonable stat line so that you can beat them. Um, if they come out on turn 1. So Blackluster Soldier is a 5/4, which is still very threatening on turn 1, especially with like this ability. But yeah, just so you know, most of these rituals may seem a little smaller because there is the possibility that you can see them very early.
Yes, and this is a really good time to point out again, you really need removal. Like you gotta be playing the removal. Removal in this set is very efficient. A lot of it can be played extremely early for very good effect. A large portion of removal that costs 1 or 2 mana can kill this creature. So be aware of that you need to be picking those cards to kill these things. Otherwise, you might die on turn 2 or 3 because someone has played this card, right? But
yeah.
It can kill a blue eyes white dragon, right? Technically, with its enters ability.
Hmm.
So there is
Yeah,
that fact.
that's true.
It also has enough power to kill a blue eyes white dragon that blocks it. It has 5 power. Blue eyes white blocks it. They both die. So
Hmm.
just calling that out. I know that some people are like, well, why doesn't it have the same stats? People have said that in the comments, and there's like Aaron said, it's because of how early you can get this out. This creature's a house. This creature's so strong. I want to note something about that enters ability. You can reanimate it or even blink it, like with Ephemerate, which we have a version of in the set, and it will get that trigger. It just says if it wasn't cast. So if you put it into play in literally any other way, or it enters in any other way, you get that trigger, and it's a very strong trigger. The idea is that you're going to
Yeah.
ritual summon it to get that trigger, but you can do it in any other way as well, and it still works.
Yeah, this was something that was changed early on because originally the ritual said that they needed to enter from the library.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this didn't work originally, but I really like this solution because it also means that like reanimation and stuff works, and that's nice because those are also a kind of ritual. So it's a little flavor hint there, If you can somehow ritual it out by reviving it or by cheating it out or something like that, then you get a little bonus.
It also means that you can pick the Blackluster Soldier without having the ritual and make it do good stuff in your deck if you have the ways to make its trigger happen. So my
Oh yeah,
thoughts on
this is a very powerful blood artist. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, it's a Vein Ripper is what the ability is. Except for it doesn't trigger off itself. So if they kill this card, you don't get the drain trigger. But if anything else dies, this is a Vein Ripper in that's turn one Vein Ripper sounds pretty good to me. Doesn't have flying and ward, but you get the idea. It's a very good card. I would say I would grade the Blackluster Soldier itself higher than the Ritual. There are definitely, like Aaron was saying,
Hmm.
times when you're going to pick the Ritual without, without the Blackluster Soldier because that's where you want it. But typically with these things, the creatures themselves are worth more than the rituals are in a lot of scenarios. That doesn't mean you just like
Yeah.
pass up the ritual every time. Sometimes you pick the ritual because you're like, ooh, I hope I get the ritual creature. But the ritual creature is good on its own a lot of the time, particularly if you're able to trigger its enters ability. And all of them are worded this way. They all have an enters ability that only triggers if you didn't cast it. So be on the lookout for ways you can, like Aaron said, reanimate them or cheat them into play in any other way. I like this card quite a bit, and so I would give Black Luster Soldier himself a B plus. I think he's just a really good card. I would love to have this, and when I pick him, I'm looking for ways to cheat him out to get that trigger. That trigger then is going to make them lose 2 life. You gain 2 life. Like there's a lot of stuff going on. It's super nice.
Oh yeah. I would honestly play this in any zombie deck because even just hard casting this for 5 mana and then having like a constant drain on your opponent is just so nasty.
Yeah,
Um, like this thing
imagine
is a B for
return
me.
zombie, right? You're just sacrificing
Yeah,
return zombie, bringing it back over and over again, draining them for 2 over and over again. That's like free almost, and then you have your other cards that could be helping this along.
yeah, yeah. This is a B for me, honestly.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Did we
Oh,
did we want to?
I'm giving
I guess
Blackluster
I
Soldier a B, and I think that the ritual, it's just usually you don't pick this unless you have Blackluster Soldier. That's that. I mean, you will, Aaron. You gave some good examples of times when you might, but I think typically you're not going to do that. I think usually you want these
yeah.
two together if you can. But yeah, there definitely are scenarios where Blackluster Ritual is worth playing on its own if you can make it work. But in those scenarios, you already have the deck, and you're like, ooh, Blackluster
Yeah.
Ritual works here. So you're not picking it very
Mhm.
highly until you already have a deck where you're like, oh, actually, this does work for me. And most of those
I guess then
decks,
a C, just
yeah,
then a C or something, right?
yeah, I think maybe even no. I'm giving Blackluster Ritual a D without Blackluster Soldier, and then when you have Blackluster Soldier, I'm just tying it in with Blackluster Soldier as a B together as a package.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Sounds good.
alrighty. Next card is Call of the Mummy. It is a continuous spell card that says once per turn you can special summon one zombie monster from your hand. You must control no monsters to activate and to resolve this effect.
Okay, so zombies were a very good deck back in the day. Um, I don't think like they were always iconic. I don't think it was like the house it was uh like in 2005 or something. It became more of a house in like the later 20 teens, something like 28, 29-ish. There were always good zombie decks, but Call of a Mummy is one of the first cards that was like, um, you know, uh, get some free advantage just by not having a thing out. And that can be pretty powerful. Um, there was like this what do I say? Mm, old zombie package where you had like some guys that were just like 2400 attack or something, and you can just cheat it out without having anything on the field.
Yeah,
It's pretty nasty. It's pretty nasty. But yeah.
really cool. In Magic, Call of the Mummy is 1 white black for an enchantment that has 3 white black. Put a zombie card from your hand or from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control with a finality counter on it. Activate this ability only once per turn and only as a sorcery. This ability costs 3 less to activate if you control no creatures. So, unlike the original one, you can activate this even if you control creatures, but it's a lot more expensive. So, if you have no creatures, though, it only costs 2 mana to get a zombie back. One of the big differences here is you do put a finality counter on that creature, and so that means that if it dies, it'll go away forever, so you can't keep looping every zombie you have with this card. That's just because of how Magic works. Magic takes more turns to go through, and so looping things is more realistic to happen if you have the ability to do so. This card's kind of preventing that. One more thing I'll mention is it does have the text from a graveyard, and that means if there are zombies in your opponent's graveyard, and there are cards that can make them zombies, this can return them. So,
Yeah. So yeah, this added the ability to revive things from the graveyard, which is quite strong. Of course, the original Call of the Mummy only goes from the hand, even though you'd think it goes from the graveyard. But yeah, I mean, just having a Monster Reborn on a card would have been way too good.
right.
So, um, but Call of the Mummy, having this ability to get something back from a graveyard with a finality counter. Thank God it gives the finality counter, man.
Yeah.
Like if I could loop Bone Crusher 5 times, I would rip my
Woo!
hair out, you know?
Sounds
Yeah.
awesome. What are you talking about? Pair it with that shark too. Just do both. Why not?
Yeah. Could already come close to that. But anyway, yeah, this is good for any zombie deck, and yeah, it's but it is very very specifically for zombie decks. So you cannot play this anywhere else besides zombies. That's why you need to pick it pretty late, and that's why I would probably give it like instead of like a really good card at this set any creature type, you could probably argue for a B, but without that, it's like a C because you need specifically zombies.
Yeah, and we've been playing for a while. I have not seen this card do a whole lot. It might be just too much mana. The idea is that this is a long game card. This is not meant to be like a cheating card. You don't cheat things in with this very easily, because first of all, zombies are typically cheaper. Most of the zombies are cheaper, and
Yeah.
this costs a lot of mana. It costs 3 mana to play, and then if you control no creatures, 2 mana to activate. Otherwise, it's 5 mana to activate. So it can be pretty
Yeah.
expensive. It's got to be sorcery speed. You got to commit to it. So I don't know. This card might not be super great. It's a build around card. You got to be playing zombies to do anything with it anyway. I would give it, I don't know, like a C plus. I think it's not as strong as a lot of the other things are. It doesn't impact the board. You got to put a lot of mana into it. So it's really just a late game engine for the zombies deck, which is great, and you do want that if you're playing zombies. You might consider this card, but I would not pick it very highly at all.
Yeah, I do think like it is very valuable to just have a reanimation engine, like a card
Yeah.
that just reanimates things. It's just really nice for all the synergies because every zombie likes to say, "Oh, I came back from the dead. Now I get to kill
Yes.
you." You know?
Yes, very true. Very
So
true.
that is the nice thing about it.
Yeah, it's definitely good there. It's just expensive mana wise, so I think that, you have to have stabilized yourself before this card can come into the conversation. All right.
I'm sticking with C.
Sounds good. All right, next card, Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End. Ooh, this is an 8-star Dark Dragon effect monster with 3,000 attack and 2,500 defense. It says it cannot be normal summoned or set, and it must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster from your graveyard. And then it has, once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points to send as many cards in both players' hands and on the field as possible to the graveyard, then inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each card sent sent to your opponent's graveyard by this effect. You cannot activate other cards or effects during the turn you activate this card's effect.
Ah, yes. This guy, basically was the image of old broken Yu-Gi-Oh for a very long time. And what you see here is actually the nerfed version, because the original version, uh, allowed you to didn't have that last line of text that said you cannot activate other cards or effects during the turn you activate this card's effect. Please note that this means the entire turn. If you activate that effect in its current form, you cannot activate cards before or after that. So that's why Kara's Emperor Dragon sees no play today, but it was banned for almost 20 years. And then in 2015, it got this errata. And then no one played it because you can never use this effect now. Um, you
That's
know?
so funny.
But the reason it was the busted thing it was before is because some of you might remember the so-called Yatagarasu lock in the very, very early days of Yu-Gi-Oh, where you would summon this. You'd also have a creature that searches something when it dies, and then you would blow up the field, search Yatagarasu, which, whenever it dealt damage to your opponent, would skip their draw phase, and then you would stare at each other as this little bird with 200 attack keeps swinging in at them for 20 years and kill
Yeah.
them. And it was the slowest kill ever, and also the most infamous.
So funny.
Yeah.
Funny enough, Yatagarasu used to be in this set, and we just took it out because we couldn't find a good way to design it to be fun. So it's not in the set anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
It wasn't a set for nostalgia value, and then
Yeah.
we took it out because we realized the nostalgia value
Was
was
bad.
that it.
It was miserable nostalgia.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
let's look at
The
the
type of
Magic
nostalgia you
version.
don't want.
Right, exactly. It's more like trauma, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
guess.
in Magic, it is 6 white black for an 8/6 legendary creature dragon. You may pay black black white white and exile a white card and a black card from your graveyard rather than pay the spell's mana cost. It has flying, and it says when it enters, if you cast it from your hand, each player discards their hand. For each card discarded this way, each opponent loses 1 life. So you can see already the difference. One of the big differences is it doesn't blow up the field, right? Also, it's not an activation, it's just a when it enters, it does its ability, and it makes both players discard their hands, but it nugs your opponent for a bunch of damage when that happens. You get to keep the Chaos Emperor Dragon in play as well. So, it's a pretty different card than the original one, all things considered, and I think it plays out very differently than the other one did as well, but it's not like limiting you on what other things you can do. You can cast it for 8 mana, or for 4 mana by exiling black and white cards from your graveyard. This, I didn't want it to be free, because then you could just self-mill and cast this crazy card for free and kind of lock your opponent really early on in a way that I think would have been less fun. Because making your opponent discard their whole hand is just... It's just huge. It's just such a big deal in Magic, and being able to do that too early on, I think, would have been very frustrating to deal with and play. So you also can't cheat this. It says you have to cast it from your hand to get its ability. So there's no reanimating with it, no cheating it into play. So
Oh yeah, that part is interesting too because the original, of course, cannot be cheated out at all, um, except by cards that say ignore their summoning condition or whatever. But the original cannot be cheated out. It has to be summoned by banishing a white and a black card, or a light or a dark monster in this case. I find interesting here that our Magic version doesn't require you to exile creatures; it just requires cards. So you can banish a white instant, a black sorcery, or something like that, right? Still summon this. It is very powerful to play this for 4 mana, but we did want to evoke the chaos feel of oh yeah, you can just do the chaos thing with a light and darkness card, exile it, and have the guy, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. And we did take off that board wipe effect. I think that was just doing too much because Yu-Gi-Oh, there's a lot of bigger effects happen in Yu-Gi-Oh a lot of the time that are fine with the game because of timing restrictions and when you're able to use them, so removal is just very different in that game. And in Magic, if this was also a board wipe, it would just be so backbreaking. I think I like the idea that if your opponent has a good board state, that's the weakness of this card. It is an 8/6 flyer, by the way. It's still huge. It's still a terrifying creature. But if your opponent has a good board state, then this card is not as strong. It does make both players discard their hands, but only your opponent loses life. I would say I've never played this card in one of my decks. I don't know about you, Aaron, but I haven't played it yet. Its cast ability is good, but it's a late game card at that point because you gotta have already gotten or you already gotta get cards in your yard, and then you gotta pay 4 mana. You can do it on turn 4. It's definitely possible, but it's also pretty good at punishing players who have large hands. Make them lose a bunch of life. I haven't really, like I said, I haven't had experience with this card. I'm not sure how good it is. You can't cheat it. That's a huge thing. So you really got to make sure your deck actually gets value out of it. I wouldn't pick this super highly, but I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Aaron?
Well, I do agree. This is a bit tricky because if you play this early, then you lose your own hand, of course, as well, which makes it fun. You can, if you both have 5 cards in your hand or whatever, discard both, dome your opponent for 10 damage, and then you have this 8-flyer threat that can close out the game very fast. That's one way to look at it. Or you play it pretty late, don't get a lot of cards with it, but then still have, you simplified the game state. You still have this really big guy, and you possibly didn't pay a lot of mana for him. So this is all a lot of there's a lot of trickery going on with him, and I enjoy that. I would agree that it's probably not the most value you can get out of the card. I would say, it's a bit tricky. I would say you definitely need to play this in a 2-color, in the black white stuff, and it also requires double white and double black pips, if you want to cast it for cheap. So I would say it's probably in that niche, and for that, it's not my first pick. It's probably a pretty late pick if I'm in those colors. I would say a C, maybe.
Yeah. I think the most likely deck to play this is actually a zombies deck, since zombies are good at putting things in the graveyard, and they don't mind discarding their hand because so many of their cards can also come back. So I actually think that zombies
but then
is...
you also have you discard all your reanimation spells too.
True. So you're hoping you put in the calls the mummy first, and then you play this card, something like that. Yeah. It's interesting. I still do think that would be a deck I would likely put it in, because you could also play your cheap zombies first, then you don't have many cards in hand, and then you just play the Chaos Emperor Dragon. I think that's where I would end up, and I agree. C. I'm on C as well. So C for Chaos Emperor Dragon. For Chaos.
Yeah. C for Chaos.
Next card, Decayed Commander, is a 4-star Earth zombie effect monster with 1,000 attack and 1,500 defense. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one zombie tiger from your hand. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by direct attack, discard 1 random card from their hand.
Yeah. This is there was a wave of monsters that, in case you don't know, union monsters are basically these monsters that can combine with other monsters. And there was a wave in early Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they tried to give union monsters their specific support guys, and Zombie Tiger is the union monster to this guy's Decayed Commander. No one really played them because it's like rituals. How are you going to have both of these cards in your hand? How are you going to draw them? How are you going to search them? There was no way to find them. So there was no big reason to play them, but it's fun to turn them into Magic cards. So
Good, true. Let's look at the Magic card. Decayed Commander in Magic is 2 white black for a 2/2 creature zombie warrior that says when this creature enters, you may put a zombie card with mana value 3 or less from your hand or from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And it says whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card at random. So a lot of the stuff is preserved here. It does enter and summon another thing, and when it hits them, they discard a card at random. That's pretty well preserved. We have changed it from Zombie Tiger to a more broad text because we want you to be able to use it, and you also can pull it from the graveyard. So it's been broadened to be able to do a lot more things. Zombie Tiger is in the set and does cost 3 mana, so this can put Zombie Tiger into play. That's cool. But it lets you get any zombie, and it's from hand or from your graveyard, or from any graveyard, really. So if your opponent has a zombie or you have a card that turns their creatures into zombies, it can grab those as well. It's just an all-around nice tempo card for that. You can play it on turn 4 and just put something from your hand into play. You don't have to have something in your graveyard. I think that's a huge part of this card that makes it nice. But it's reanimating zombies as well. Again, you really, really need zombies for this to do anything. But it's pretty good at doing that. I actually really like this card.
Yeah, I'd say like the stat line, of course, is very, very miserable.
It's
So,
tiny.
you know, yeah, if you don't have zombies, you're not playing this. But I would say like inside zombies, this is a C plus for sure. The combat damage thing, you just need to make a way for it, but you wouldn't bank on it. You wouldn't bank on getting in with a 2/2 that has no evasion, or anything. But yeah, inside zombies, this is like a really good card, but outside of it, it's more like a D.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think I don't think you play this outside of zombies at all. So definitely like D minus, maybe F if you're not playing zombies. And I think that's very important to point out, right? Because there's some cards where you can just pick them and they're like, oh, if I'm playing those colors, it's probably okay. But there are cards where the difference between doing their thing and not doing their thing is so massive that you A, probably don't pick them very early, and B, need to be aware of what it's asking of you to be able to get its actual value. But this card can reanimate your Bone Crusher and have it destroy a permanent, right? So it's really good when it does its thing. I would give it like a build around grade, right? This is something Limited Resources does, where they have some grades that are altered, saying only ever do this in a certain scenario. So only ever play this if you have a zombies deck that's going to make use of this reanimation or play from your hand ability. In that scenario, I'd give it, C plus, B minus, maybe something like that. Maybe just a C plus, because I don't think it's going nuts, right? It's a tiny creature. You have to have a zombie somewhere, but it's flexible, right? Late game, it's not bad, right? Early game, turn 4, put something from your hand into play. Late game, turn 7, go ahead and reanimate something. Either way, that's pretty good. So I would give it a C plus. It's very, very good in that zombies deck for filling out your era, but you're never picking this if you're not already in zombies.
Sweet.
Next card, Delg the Dark Monarch. Now, as I mentioned, all of the 2-color combinations are going to have their own monarch. This is the white-black monarch. So, Delg the Dark Monarch is a 6-star dark spellcaster effect monster that has 2,400 attack and 1,000 defense. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can target up to 2 cards in your opponent's graveyard, banish the targets. I hate that they do that. Banish that target. That's not good grammar. Yeah. Then send the same number of cards from the top of their deck to the graveyard. This cannot attack during the turn it is normal or special summoned.
Okay, so interestingly, there's like 3 phases to monarchs, right? The first phase was where they just printed the original monarchs, which are like all the elements. There's one, and then later on, between the modern monarch support, there is some weaker like versions of monarchs they try to make to like give some of that monarch feel, but not exactly make another Mobius. And then they came up with Delg the Dark Monarch. There's like another one which actually sees a little bit of play, and it's also in this set. But this one saw no play. This was not like the old monarchs, and basically everyone ignored it. I think this came out around 5Ds or something. I mean, it even has that text at the bottom where it says it cannot attack during the turn it is normal or special summoned. Why is that on there?
Yeah,
Who
what
cares
are they doing?
if you can attack with your 2,400 guy after it exiled 2 cards out of a graveyard? That's not.
And gave them 2 cards back still, so they could just get back what they wanted still. Like, this card's really bad. Like, holy shit. I mean, I know that like exiling cards from your opponent's graveyard is good to be able to do, but usually it's good to be able to do like at instant speed, like or at like fast or whatever it's called. I don't remember what speeds are called in Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's not good to do.
But wait, I did miss one thing, and that is this is, to my knowledge, one of the only monarchs. Yeah, I think that's why they did it. This is one of the
You can
only monarchs
special
that
summon.
triggers on special summon. Yeah,
Why do that?
like
Why did they do that? This is not a
I think
monarch
the
to
light one
me.
does it too. Yeah,
This is
this is like
no.
a pale imitation to a monarch, but
Yeah.
and the special summoning seals it.
Yeah. So anyway, we decided to make
Yeah.
a whole new card essentially with this one. There's a tiny bit of an echo of some of the stuff that's over on there, but the magic version is 4 black white for a 5/4 legendary creature monarch zombie. Now, I know that nothing on the original card makes you think zombie, but I made it a zombie so it would work with all the cool zombie stuff. Sue me, but it's for mechanical reasons. You don't know if there's a zombie under that armor, okay? Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, could be anything.
could be anything. It's got emerge for 3 white black. It has lifelink, and then it says when Delg enters, if you cast it, target player mills 3 cards. Then you may put target creature card with mana value 3 or less from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So the part of Delg that makes you mill or makes someone mill is the only thing that we've kept. Everything else is completely changed. It reanimates something. If you target your opponent, you reanimate from their graveyard. If you target yourself, you reanimate from your graveyard. It works well with all the other zombie stuff where you're pulling things out. This can also get a bone crusher, right? In fact, people have
Yeah.
absolutely done that to me. It's fucked up. You can also sacrifice your bone crusher to Delg and then reanimate it. It's very good play. It's a super good play. Definitely had that happen to me. I was crying. It was Panzer who did that to me, and I was very sad. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, what you mentioned, if you sacrifice any creature that is mana value 3 or less, you can just play this, get the creature back, mill some stuff in the process, and then get the ETB of the creature that you got back again. So it's like, you know, in any deck that has small creatures that you want to sacrifice, this is like really dope. Of course, it needs to be in the colors, so probably mostly for zombie stuff. But if you like, there's also the Monarch deck, and if you enjoy doing that, then this is also very good there, of course. And yeah, I think in the zombie deck, this is definitely a good card. Probably like a B minus, I'd say.
I don't even think you got to say in the zombie deck. I think this is any black white deck would be cool with this. I will agree with you though. You got to be careful. You do want smaller creatures in your deck. You're going to want to make sure you have that. But let's say you're leaning towards warriors, right? Because white has a lot of warriors, and so your deck's not really a zombies deck, but you're still black white because you had good removal and delg. Or let's say you're leaning towards the self mill. Mono black has a self mill strategy. This is great with that deck too. I think
Oh yeah.
unlike Decayed Commander, where it's like Decayed Commander, you should probably play this on only a zombies deck. No, Delg is great in any black white deck pretty much. Obviously, there are a couple like if you're playing some sort of black white control that's not playing small creatures, sure, maybe not that, but I think a lot of the black white decks you're going to put together in this set are going to be ones that would love to have Delg, whether they are zombies or not. That puts me to B
Yeah.
plus territory. This card is awesome. You can even buy it out by targeting your opponent. Say you got nothing to get back and nothing to sacrifice, just 6 mana, target my opponent, see what they've got. Or target yourself and just see if you mill something you can reanimate. I think he's got a lot of like
Yeah.
buyout potential too, so he's really good. I give it a B
Yeah, I
plus.
mean, just mill their Exodia piece out and then steal it
And
from
then
them,
steal
and
it,
then
and
they
then they
can't.
can't Exodia.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
and
so
then
good.
yeah, so that basically makes it an S plus.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, S plus for sure. Okay, cool. Thanks, Delg. You go from a card that no one remembers in Yu-Gi-Oh to an S plus in Magic. Love it. All right, next card. Vampire Lord is a 5-star dark zombie effect monster with 2,000 attack and 1,500 defense. It says if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, declare one type of card, monster, spell, or trap. Your opponent sends one card of that type from their deck to the graveyard. Once per turn during your next standby phase after this card is in your possession, or sorry, pretty much it's saying once per turn after this card was destroyed and sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can special summon it.
Okay, so this guy also has history. This is like one of the first, tribute monsters that was really good. Um, it's uh, it's surprising because a lot of cards that had like 5 stars and 2,000 attack were often not really that good because, well, 2000 is the lower limit of something that has 5 stars. But there was a time when 5 star monsters had 1900 attack and 2000 attack, and this was this was just a house because you could like sit on it, and if it blew up, it would revive itself. The mill effect is a bit weird because yeah, you would give your opponent the choice of what to send to the graveyard. Sometimes you could, like, if you got in a few times, if you dealt battle damage with it a few times, you could basically force them to remove their staples. At some point they had to like get rid of their monster reborn if they didn't have enough spells in their deck or something. But yeah, it was a really weird effect, and later they made one or two cards that cared about milling with vampires when they tried to make it an archetype, and then later they decided, well, actually, we should ditch the whole mill thing and just make it about paying life points because it's so niche. But it was very much played for the coming back every time it died. That was very powerful.
It seems very strong too in general, but yeah, the milling part seems like a downside, right? You're even though you get to choose the card type, a lot of times, particularly in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, that's bad. Like that gives them
Oh,
resources.
Modern Yu-Gi-Oh, no question. But like
Yeah,
the time this was from, you could like keep saying trap card, and then they would have to send like some of their
best
more
traps. Yeah,
powerful things eventually.
fair enough.
Um, yeah.
Alrighty. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, or sorry, in Magic, Vampire Lord is 3 white black for a 5/4 creature zombie vampire, and this is because in Yu-Gi-Oh there is no vampire monster type. They just use zombie for it, and so I gave it both types for my set, so it would work with zombies, but it's clearly a vampire, so it's also going to be a vampire. And who knows? It's undead, counts. It has flying, and it says whenever a zombie you control deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. It also says when this creature dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of your next upkeep. So that last text, I actually copied that from the gods, the like evil gods from Amonkhet, like Scarab God. So it has Scarab God's text, which is a really cool card that existed. I'm a huge fan of Scarab God. The trigger is supposed to be kind of reminiscent of how when he hits them they mill a card, but I decided to make it more relevant to the way Magic plays because that would be just straight up really bad if that's what
Yeah.
how it works. So in this situation, it's it also, because it's a rare, it's a big card, it works with all your zombies, and so it's kind of like drawing cards off your opponent's deck.
It's a card draw engine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's a very unique card draw engine in that you get to steal cards from your opponent. And I would say because of that, because it steals them from your opponent, and because that sometimes means you can't really use them to their fullest, it's not a reliable card draw engine. But
Right.
it does provide card advantage. I would say like a C plus for me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things going on here. Like, yes, it pays you off for zombies, but it is a zombie, so it can just hit itself. But as Aaron said, not the most reliable card advantage engine. It's just fine, right? It's an okay card advantage engine. I think the key here is the fact that it's hard to kill. I think that's what makes this card good. You got to pay your full 5 mana. We're not emerge summoning this. It is 5 mana. 5/4
Oh,
flying
that's
for
true,
5 mana
yeah.
is fine. It's fine. You can hit them, but it's on turn 5. And if your opponent has exile removal, you didn't do anything with this card, right? So, it, I like it, but I actually don't think you look at this as a zombie card. It is better the more zombies you have. I think you look at it as a finisher in some sort of deck that's got card advantage. 5 damage is good as a 5 power creature, but it's not incredible. It's not killing incredibly fast. So I think you're looking at this as a resilient creature that is hard to kill, and that's what's good about it. It can block very easily, though you do have to recast it every time. That's expensive. But I think it's one of those things where it's like a black-white deck, if it doesn't have any good, like, power cards, right? If you're building your black-white deck and you find you've got some efficient early game cards and some good removal and you've got some other stuff that can go on, but you don't have any power cards that are like, when I play this, my opponent should answer it. If they don't, they're in a bad place. Then you could put Vampire Lord in your deck, but you're not going to be starved for that kind of card. So I think Vampire Lord's just okay. Like, you definitely could play it. there's definitely scenarios where you're like, I need a card that can do this kind of thing, but you're not just like, you're like, oh my god, Vampire Lord, I need this, you know.
Oh my god, look at my shiny Vampire Lord.
I
Yeah.
mean, he is shiny. Look at that. Look at them claws
Yeah.
on his. That's crazy. So I'd give him a
Has a
C.
sick Duel Links. Oh yeah. So,
Sorry.
the C. He has a sick Duel Links animation too, if you're interested.
Oh shit, that sounds awesome. Um, and I want to be clear about this C, by the way. It's because of how replaceable he is. Your black white deck can find another threat. This is not the only threat that you could have. You're not going to be starved for powerful plays that you can have. He could be one of them. You play him on turn 5 after your opponent removed some of your other stuff, and if they don't answer him, he's doing good stuff. But he's replaceable. That's the key part about the fact that he's a C. All right, next card, Zombie Warrior. This is a 3-star zombie fusion monster that's dark, sorry, with 1200 attack and 900 defense, and it needs you to have Skull Servant and Battle Warrior to fusion summon him.
It's a guy. It's a battle dude and a skeleton makes zombie warrior. Yeah. The thing about this is one of those fusion monsters that was like in the very early sets. There were a lot of these that like there was no reason to make them ever. Like
Yep.
normally you would never. Why would you make a 1200 guy with polymerization and two other guys?
Yeah.
Um, and he doesn't have an effect either. And we took a bunch of these old fusion monsters that were unplayable and made them into cool little designs. And because you don't need polymerization for them, you can just play them in your zombie decks and fusion summon without polymerization and stuff. And I think that's really
Absolutely.
neat.
It's cards like this that really show you that they were not up on, like, they didn't really know what they were doing balance and game design wise back then, which is okay. Like, it's an old game. It makes sense. But you can really see that,
Yeah.
like, why would I ever go through all this effort for 1200 attack? That's impossibly bad. When I could just play, like, I don't know, from the first set was Neo. I don't know if Neo was in the first set, but when I could play, like, something better than this without having to fusion summon, why would I have done this? And
Yeah.
I think it's so fascinating. So anyway, we made Zombie Warrior not too bad. Zombie Warrior is 3 white black for a 3/3 with fusion for 2 and a white black hybrid that requires a zombie and a warrior to fusion summon. And then it says whenever a zombie you control deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card. First thing you'll notice that this does want you to have a zombie and a warrior to fusion summon it, but you're really going to want to fusion summon it. 5 mana for this 3/3 is not very good. This is worse than your Vampire Lord if you're going to spend 5 mana. So you really probably don't want this that way. You really need to be fusion summoning this. And it needs you to have a zombie and a warrior, and it doesn't pay you off immediately. You gotta hit your opponent for you to get a payoff value wise. But it will be able to provide that to you. It's kind of small, but being able to just play this on turn 3 isn't too bad. I think it's a decent card, not the best in the world, but I do like what it's doing for the zombies deck.
Yeah. And I think like it is still pretty expensive for 3 mana. Like you have to discard a zombie and a warrior and stuff. Um and like yeah, it is a 3/3. But it also matters that it is a fusion monster because some decks that care a lot about fusions will just take this because it's a fusion monster, and then it doesn't even need to be a zombie card.
Right. Right. It also counts itself, right? When it's a zombie, so when it hits them, they discard a card. I'll also mention if you're
Yeah.
playing this in a zombie deck, that fusion cost lets you discard a zombie, right? Maybe you wanted to put a zombie in the graveyard, it's going to let you do
True,
that. So
yes.
something to keep in mind. Or if you have return zombie, it's like the return zombie was free fodder for it. So, not the best in the world. I think again very replaceable. I would give this a C as well. Maybe a C minus because I think the power it puts onto the battlefield is not very high for the cost. So
Yeah. C minus is adequate, I think.
yeah,
I
and
would
I think
also
you'd
go
still
there.
probably play it. I think you still probably play it in a lot of zombies decks. But yeah. All right. Lastly, I
Oh
believe this is
yeah.
the last black white card is Zombie Master. And in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's 4-star dark zombie effect monster that has 1800 attack and 0 defense. It says once per turn you can send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 level 4 or lower zombie monster in either graveyard. Special summon that target. This monster must be face up on the field to activate and to resolve this effect.
Okay. I will say this is probably the guy that made zombies into the deck that we know it as today. Um, this guy is still played to this day in zombie decks, I think.
He's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. This guy came out, I think, I don't know. I think he came out relatively late. I think he was like the start of the 2006, 7, oh, 6, 7, 7 or 2008, 2008 era-ish. Um, or earlier, hit me, I don't know. But he, like, you can just reanimate every turn and get something back from the graveyard, from the opponent's graveyard. I think he was in the first structure deck for zombies with Zombie World and all that. um, this card is iconic. It's probably like one of 5 cards that everyone thinks of when they think zombies. And yeah,
Very
probably
cool.
still played today in some decks. Yeah.
Yeah. In Magic, Zombie Master has been changed to be named Zombie Meister because Magic the Gathering already has a card called Zombie Master, so we chose to do it this way. White black for a 2/2 creature zombie cleric. Other zombies you control get +1/+1 because he's the master of the zombies. And he has tap, discard a creature card, put target zombie card with mana value 4 or less from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So, we've decided to translate that once per turn clause into a tap ability, which works the way it does in Magic. This does mean that you can't use it immediately on the first turn you play Zombie Meister, but in Magic that's a little bit more okay, right? You have a little bit more time. Games last a couple more turns than they do in Yu-Gi-Oh, and so you'll be able to use this the way that you want to use this. I have played this once, and it was pretty decent. I could discard a creature card and play my, Pyramid Turtle or something like that. It was pretty nice. I liked it a lot.
Oh yeah. If you can revive like things that also have like death triggers and stuff like that. Oh jeez.
Yeah, we're bringing back Bone Crusher. Remember, Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher.
Yeah,
Do not forget
Bone
Bone
Crusher.
Crusher.
Bone Crusher.
This card can bring back Bone
Bone
Crusher as
Crusher.
well.
Bone Crusher becomes like a 5/2 too. That's
Yeah, this
really, really
does
nice
give,
too.
and that's great with first strike attacking too. So don't forget it. It pumps your zombies. That's just a little extra text because of he's a master. Think about those. And I think it matters if you're going wide with your zombies or trying to hit them hard. I think it's a really cool card. I love Zombie Meister. Obviously, this is a zombies card. You need to be playing it in the zombies deck. That's something that a lot of the black-white zombies cards are. Unlike some of the other cards we saw in blue-white, this is very specific. You've got to be specifically in zombies. And so the grade I want to give it in zombies, though, is I want to give it a B- because it doesn't cost you extra mana to use this effect. That means it's really powerful.
Yeah.
And you could be discarding cards that you want to discard to bring back cards you want to bring back. You can discard your return zombie to bring back your Bone Crusher, etc. And then you just bring back the return zombie next upkeep, use it again as fodder over and over again with this card. I think it's super, super good. Super good.
Oh yeah, I especially like that we did this, that you don't need any mana to bring something back. That really harkens back to the power level of the original, because that was what made it so powerful. That you can just discard something, bring something back, and then discard like possibly a thing that you want to revive next turn and stuff. And multiple copies can do it too and stuff like that. It's yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
give this like in zombies, it's like a B. Outside of it, it's unplayable. Honestly,
Unplayable. Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
Definitely make sure you're playing zombies if you're playing this card. But I agree, B somewhere around there. I also want to mention the first design of this. It cost 4 mana to use that ability instead of tap. It was 4 mana but no tap, and silly. Why was I doing that? It was much worse. It was pretty bad back then. This is a lot better. So